OMG. She just started a new job and guess who her new boss is? Her ex-boyfriend. Tong Nyan was having a seriously bad day. She just landed a new job, but she was super nervous. It was her first day and her new boss, the CEO, looked familiar. Too familiar. It was Liao Yuncheng, her ex-boyfriend. They hadn't seen each other in 5 years. Tong Nyan quickly put on her sunglasses, trying to hide, and was about to make an excuse to leave when her boss stopped her. Her boss, the head of design, wasn't available, so Tong Nyan was asked to step in and review some designs, pretending to be a designer. Tong Nyan had no choice but to go with the CEO's assistant to his office. Liao Yuncheng was reviewing documents when he suddenly asked Tong Nyan to make him a cup of coffee. When he took a sip, he said it reminded him of an old friend. Tong Nyan nervously laughed it off and said it was just a coincidence. Liao Yuncheng didn't say anything else and asked Tong Nyan to introduce the new product design concept. Tong Nyan was totally freaking out. She looked into Liao Yuncheng's eyes, and suddenly, memories flooded back from when they were in college, and he helped her with her studies. She picked up the documents and started to explain, unaware that Liao Yuncheng had recognized her long ago. He continued to pressure her, and when she almost fell, Liao Yuncheng quickly reached out and grabbed her waist to steady her. Tong Nyan had no choice but to take off her sunglasses and say, "Long time no see, Liao Yuncheng." "Hi, just a normal friend." As they were talking, Liao Yuncheng suddenly let go of her, and Tong Nyan reflexively grabbed him as they both fell to the ground. Their eyes met, and the atmosphere became awkward. Liao Yuncheng quickly got up, pretending nothing had happened, and went back to his seat. Tong Nyan muttered some complaints to him and then asked if her design would be approved. Liao Yuncheng said her design wasn't convincing and rejected it. Tong Nyan immediately apologized, admitting she shouldn't have pretended to be someone else, and hoped Liao Yuncheng wouldn't let their personal relationship affect their work. Liao Yuncheng said he was just following the process. Tong Nyan was furious and about to leave, but Liao Yuncheng saw her anger and asked her if she wanted to give up. After hearing that, Tong Nyan calmed down and asked Liao Yuncheng what he wanted. Liao Yuncheng started to explain, and they were back to their old ways. At that moment, the assistant arrived and interrupted their reunion. He initially wanted to leave, but saw a warning look from Liao Yuncheng, so he sat down. Liao Yuncheng asked the assistant to follow the procedure and asked Tong Nyan some questions. The assistant brought out a recorder, and Tong Nyan answered honestly. After it was all over, Liao Yuncheng and the assistant returned to the car. The assistant thought the CEO was so nice to Tong Nyan, but she still dumped him. He thought she was heartless, but was quickly silenced by a look from Liao Yuncheng and changed the subject. Meanwhile, Tong Nyan returned to her seat and discovered the recorder when she reached for her phone. She called the assistant, who told her to bring it to the company car at the front entrance. When Tong Nyan arrived, she knocked on the window and was surprised to see Liao Yuncheng inside. She said she was there to return the recorder. Liao Yuncheng told her to get in the car if she wanted to know the results of the review. Tong Nyan got in the car and they asked each other questions they both wanted to know. When Liao Yuncheng asked why they broke up back then, Tong Nyan said he was still the same. He wanted to know the answer. He had to know it, and he never cared about other people's feelings. With that, Tong Nyan got out of the car and left, leaving Liao Yuncheng without an answer, his heart filled with bitterness. That day, Liao Yuncheng went to the company, and Tong Nyan was surprised to see him. He said he was there to get some documents from the head of design, but knew he wasn't there, and then looked at his watch. Because Liao Yuncheng had to catch a flight, he asked Tong Nyan to take him to the airport. Tong Nyan asked why he didn't drive himself. Liao Yuncheng took a sip of his drink and said he couldn't drive right now. Tong Nyan looked at his action and was surprised. On the way, Liao Yuncheng asked about Tong Nyan's mother's health. He learned that she had cancer. Hearing Tong Nyan casually talk about that time, Liao Yuncheng knew she must have been terrified, and he felt heartbroken. He said things would be different from now on because he was back. Tong Nyan looked at him, but said nothing. When they got to the parking lot, Tong Nyan mentioned that parking was expensive. Liao Yuncheng told her to park at her place, and he'd come pick her up later. He then patted her head and turned to leave. Tong Nyan thought about Liao Yuncheng's behavior, feeling something shift in her heart. Tong Nyan asked her best friend why a man would leave his car there. Her best friend thought he must be trying to pursue her. Tong Nyan felt that was impossible, and her best friend offered to bet that the man would definitely bring her a gift that wasn't too expensive but very meaningful, and Tong Nyan would definitely accept it. Tong Nyan said she wasn't betting, and her best friend felt confident she'd win. Her best friend was live streaming and pulled Tong Nyan onto the screen. Unexpectedly, someone sent a big gift, becoming the top of the leaderboard, saying it was for Tong Nyan. Her best friend quickly thanked the top leader. The leader said they had a request. They wanted Tong Nyan's account. Her best friend quickly went to beg Tong Nyan, saying that live streaming was her dream and asking Tong Nyan to help her out. Tong Nyan had to agree, but said this was the last time. While working, Tong Nyan got a message from the top leader asking about her boyfriend. Tong Nyan replied frankly, saying she was married, had a 2.5-year-old child, and was planning on having another one soon. Liao Yuncheng was drinking with a business partner when a woman came over to chat him up. He used the exact same line Tong Nyan had used. Liao Yuncheng sent a message to Tong Nyan asking her to pick him up at the airport at 10 a.m. the next day. Tong Nyan drove to the airport and Liao Yuncheng gave her a gift, saying it was for her, which surprised Tong Nyan. He said he made it himself and remembered that she used to love this dish. Tong Nyan thanked Liao Yuncheng and felt lucky she hadn't bet with her best friend, because she would have had to buy her a month's worth of bubble tea. Liao Yuncheng asked Tong Nyan to take him to his company. Hu, the CEO, asked Liao Yuncheng how the review was going. Liao Yuncheng said Hu just had to wait for the company's process. She had edited it over 10 times, but CEO Hu still wasn't satisfied. Liao Yuncheng asked Tong Nyan to take a look and asked her which poster she remembered the most. Tong Nyan said it was the one with the beautiful woman. Liao Yuncheng said the poster should be designed so that people can see more information at a glance, and those introductory parts could be removed. Liao Yuncheng also helped Tong Nyan change the color and told her to reach out to him if she had any questions. Tong Nyan brought the revised poster to CEO Hu, and this time he said there were no problems. After she got back, Tong Nyan talked to the top leader on the leaderboard and felt that he was probably a young teenager who was trying to flirt and wanted to rescue a stray dog, but she found out he was 29 years old. Her best friend heard Tong Nyan talking and came over to ask what was going on. Tong Nyan said she was saying that spring was here and that the cats outside were in mating season. Her best friend couldn't get anything out of her and just went away. Tong Nyan went to find Tong Nyan, reporting that something had happened. The company logo on the promotional booklet was fake. Tong Nyan checked it out and found that it was true, and the screenshots were also not neatly cut. These booklets were unusable. There was only half an hour left, and during the exhibition, printing shops needed to be booked in advance. Half an hour was definitely not enough time. Tong Nyan was going to call Liao Yuncheng, but thought about it and didn't. Just then, the top leader, who was Liao Yuncheng, sent Tong Nyan a message. She told him about the situation. Liao Yuncheng asked the CEO to send him the documents with the logo, and he finished processing it and sent it back to Tong Nyan. Tong Nyan was so happy. She didn't expect him to actually have a solution. Tong Nyan heard from her coworkers that Liao Yuncheng was injured and quickly asked for leave to go to the hospital. Tong Nyan found CEO Zhao and asked about Liao Yuncheng. She bought flowers and went to see him. The security guard stopped her, saying she wasn't allowed to visit Liao Yuncheng. Tong Nyan said that CEO Zhao told her to come. Jia Yiqing came out and said that she was Liao Yuncheng's fiancé and that he hadn't woken up yet. Tong Nyan didn't expect Liao Yuncheng to have a fiancé and didn't go to visit him anymore. She gave the flowers to Jia Yiqing. Jia Yiqing turned around and ordered the security guard to throw away the flowers and not to bring anything into Liao Yuncheng's presence. Tong Nyan was going to go home but felt really uncomfortable, so she laid down on a bench by the road. In a daze, Tong Nyan saw Liao Yuncheng and said that she regretted it and didn't want to break up with him anymore. Tong Nyan remembered the past, when she had brought Liao Yuncheng a slap cake and said she made it. But Tong Nyan forgot to tear off the price tag. Liao Yuncheng took one look and knew it was bought from the store near the gate. Tong Nyan and her friends went to karaoke, and her friends gave her a big challenge. She had to confess to the first person she had pinned on WeChat. The first person Tong Nyan had pinned was Liao Yuncheng. She called him while drunk and said she liked him. Liao Yuncheng asked her if she was serious, or if it was just for the challenge. Her friend told Tong Nyan that if Liao Yuncheng agreed, then it was serious, and if he didn't, then it was just a challenge. Tong Nyan stood downstairs waiting for Liao Yuncheng, and she heard people say she wasn't good enough for him. Liao Yuncheng rushed over and apologized to her for being late. Tong Nyan wasn't happy and felt like he only knew about experiments. Every time it was the same. She wondered if he was still her boyfriend. Tong Nyan heard the professor talking to Liao Yuncheng. He had received a full scholarship from Columbia University. The professor told him not to miss out on this opportunity. Tong Nian didn't expect Liao Yuncheng to go abroad without telling her. She was heartbroken and sent him a message saying she wanted to break up. Tong Nian woke up and saw her best friend there, very anxious. Her best friend said Tong Nian had a stomachache and she was ignoring it. If CEO Hu hadn't come back and discovered Tong Nian, she would have been in serious trouble. Tong Nian was surprised. She didn't expect CEO Hu to bring her home. Her best friend asked who she thought it was. Tong Nian said it was nothing. Tong Nian drank the porridge her best friend brought her. She felt she needed to find a way to keep her job. Tong Nian brought coffee to CEO Hu, who was also very upset because he had told her to buy coffee yesterday, and she only just brought it now. Tong Nian said she wouldn't let that happen again. CEO Hu told her to write a self-critique. He felt it wasn't necessary to write a self-critique because no one would read it anyway. As the company was about to be acquired, Tong Nian received a message from the top leader on the leaderboard saying that their data had been deleted and they couldn't get back to her in time. Jia Yiqing came to visit Liao Yuncheng. He told her not to touch his phone anymore. Don't think deleting messages would erase everything. Liao Yuncheng said that his phone wasn't password protected because he had a way to recover all the data. He reminded Jia Yiqing not to forget what his profession was. He said the injury wasn't serious enough to warrant a hospital visit and directly left, making Jia Yiqing furious. Changqian Company would be sending someone to discuss the buyout, and CEO Hu asked Tong Nian to greet them. To her surprise, the person who came was Jia Yiqing. Tong Nian was also very surprised. Jia Yiqing said Tong Nian's earrings were beautiful, and she wanted to trade for them. Tong Nian said the earrings were quite cheap. If she wanted them, she would give them to her. Jia Yiqing took off her own earrings, thinking that since it was a trade, she had to give Tong Nian hers too. These were earrings the brand had gifted her. She didn't want to keep them, but she still had plenty at home. Jia Yiqing asked if Tong Nian still had Liao Yuncheng's car keys and if she could return them. Tong Nian took out the car keys and gave them to Jia Yiqing. She looked at the earrings and felt very sad. The people there were talking about how CEO Hu didn't want to sell the company, but another partner had used the company as collateral and couldn't repay the loan. CEO Hu had also found a way to turn the company into a supplier for Changtian, which would force Changtian to buy them out. CEO Hu came to talk to everyone about this, saying he had tried his best and asked everyone to choose a hospital to arrange accommodation. If they chose to be arranged by Changtian, they could sign here. If they didn't agree, they could still get paid. Tong Nian didn't want to work at the company and live with Jia Yiqing, so she chose to decline. Her best friend and Tong Nian went to a bar. Tong Nian said she knew it was difficult to find a job, but she didn't expect it to be this hard. She had gone to interviews all day but hadn't received any job offers. Tong Nian decided to get drunk tonight and started drinking with her best friend. Liao Yuncheng went to find Tong Nian. Seeing she was drunk, he carried her out. Tong Nian said she wasn't drunk, that she could walk straight, and demonstrated for Liao Yuncheng. Before, when they were together, Tong Nian had been drunk once and did the same thing for him. Tong Nian said she regretted it and asked Liao Yuncheng if they could not break up. Liao Yuncheng took Tong Nian home. When she woke up, she felt very embarrassed. Liao Yuncheng gave Tong Nian a set of documents, asking her to sign to agree to work at his company. But she refused. Liao Yuncheng took out his phone and showed Tong Nian a picture of her at the bar, saying that their teacher didn't like her going to such places. If he found out, who knows what would happen. Tong Nian had to agree to sign. Tong Nian gave the earrings back to Liao Yuncheng, asking him to return them to his fiancée. Liao Yuncheng recognized them as Jia Yiqing's earrings and was surprised. Tong Nian arrived at the company, and Jia Yiqing was already there. She was clearly unhappy and said that coming to work late and leaving early was fine in a small company, but not in a big company like theirs. Tong Nian said she wasn't late. It was only 7:55. Jia Yiqing insisted that in their company, you need to arrive 15 minutes early, no matter what. Liao Yuncheng arrived and said that Tong Nian wasn't late. He asked them to do the normal company onboarding procedures for her. Liao Yuncheng asked the secretary to list all the people who wanted to get married in the second half of the year, so the company could hold a group wedding for them. The secretary asked if he needed to include him. Liao Yuncheng said, "When did I say I wanted to get married?" The secretary said everyone in the company was talking about it. Liao Yuncheng said it was just a rumor, and since he liked to eavesdrop, he would be transferred to a better place where he could eavesdrop. Jia Yiqing felt it was just a minor thing, and not worth paying attention to. Liao Yuncheng said people who weren't hardworking and only cared about gossip shouldn't be in the secretary's office. He confirmed that he didn't have a fiancée and asked everyone to stop spreading false information. Everyone could misunderstand that he had a fiancée, but not Jia Yiqing. Tong Nian was happy to hear that. She was assigned to the after-sales service department, and the manager took her on a tour of the department. The manager went to find Tong Nian and said he suddenly had to go, but a customer was coming to the company and asked Tong Nian to receive them. Tong Nian didn't fully understand what she was doing, and she couldn't answer some of the customer's questions, making her feel very embarrassed. Liao Yuncheng arrived and said that this information could be found on the company's official website. The customer could look it up there. If they had no other questions, the company would arrange a queue and a session for them. He hoped the customer wouldn't question the company's capabilities because of a small incident. Tong Nian asked Liao Yuncheng why he had assigned her to the after-sales service department. Liao Yuncheng said the manager was very capable and advised Tong Nian to learn from him. After regaining her composure, Tong Nian seriously studied with the manager. She also often asked her coworkers if she didn't know something, and her work performance improved significantly. Liao Yuncheng left some manuals at Tong Nian's desk for her to use while learning. Her work performance improved even more. Liao Yuncheng asked Tong Nian to remove his name from her blacklist. She remembered that she had blocked him. Liao Yuncheng was working overtime. Tong Nian went to find him and asked him to go out for dinner. Tong Nian and Liao Yuncheng went out. They wanted to eat at a street food stall, but unexpectedly, they ran into her best friend and other people. Everyone looked at each other. They couldn't believe they had met here. They were all very surprised. Later, everyone went back to Tong Nian's place. The atmosphere was awkward. Bo Yang asked Tong Nian to cook, but she said they had already agreed that whoever was hungry would cook, and since she wasn't hungry, she wouldn't cook. Bo Yang gave Liao Yuncheng a look, so Tong Nian had no choice but to go into the kitchen. Bo Yang asked Liao Yuncheng what was going on, telling him that he was Tong Nian's best friend from childhood. He was there today to ask Tong Nian if she wanted to be with him. Liao Yuncheng said he and Tong Nian were just normal colleagues. Tong Nian's best friend felt very awkward. She didn't understand why these two guys were clashing like this. Tong Nian made hot pot and brought it out. Bo Yang helped her serve the food, but Liao Yuncheng listed a bunch of reasons why these foods were not good. He also helped Tong Nian serve the food. The two of them argued back and forth. Tong Nian asked her best friend what was going on, and her friend said she hadn't seen the epic battle that had just happened. After dinner, everyone played a game, with a rule that whoever won the king game could request anything from two other players. Tong Nian's friend won and became the king. She asked the two people who drew numbers 2 and 3 to kiss. Tong Nian and Bo Yang drew numbers 2 and 3. Bo Yang pulled Tong Nian close. Liao Yuncheng, seeing this, was unhappy. Tong Nian and the others were playing games. Liao Yuncheng had drunk quite a bit of alcohol and was lying on the sofa. Tong Nian was about to call a driver to take him home, but he took out his car keys and asked her to take him home. Tong Nian had no choice but to drive him home. When they got home, Liao Yuncheng suddenly got close to Tong Nian, making her feel very awkward. He said he would go take a shower first, and when he came back, he talked about the day's events with Tong Nian. Tong Nian said Bo Yang was just a brother to her. Liao Yuncheng asked, "Can brothers now act so intimately?" Liao Yuncheng got closer to Tong Nian. She said she didn't have a brother. Liao Yuncheng brought up the past. Tong Nian felt it was time to clear things up. She took out some alcohol and ingredients and made 2 forgetfulness drinks. She gave one to Liao Yuncheng, saying that after they drank it, they would start over. Liao Yuncheng asked what she meant by start over. After drinking the forgetfulness drink, did it mean starting over in their relationship or becoming strangers? Tong Nian said it meant becoming strangers. Liao Yuncheng drank the drink and said they were starting over now. He asked if he could pursue her, if he could be her boyfriend. Tong Nian was shocked. She later told her best friend about it. Her best friend was also surprised. She didn't expect Liao Yuncheng to agree. Liao Yuncheng gathered everyone together for a meeting to discuss a beach project. This project was their main focus for the second half of the year and would have some challenges. Tong Nian was also at this meeting. However, she wasn't really listening to what Liao Yuncheng was saying. She was just staring at him. Liao Yuncheng said he would be choosing excellent employees from different departments to join this project team, and Tong Nian was on the list. Liao Yuncheng went to find Tong Nian and said he had brought her into the project team because of her good work, not because of any personal relationship. Tong Nian said she understood and would work hard. While Liao Yuncheng was talking to someone else, Tong Nian went over to him, but was so focused on staring at him that she bumped into the wall. Liao Yuncheng came over and took her into his office. He said that no one else was there anymore, so Tong Nian could calm down. She felt very embarrassed. Liao Yuncheng met Jia Yiqing to return the earrings he had given to Tong Nian. Jia Yiqing said it was just a gift exchange between girls, nothing big. Liao Yuncheng said that since he had worn them, he shouldn't give them to someone else. A co-worker told Tong Nian that CEO Hu was going abroad, and they were going to have a farewell party for him that day. Tong Nian almost forgot about it and quickly went with her coworkers. CEO Hu felt very sentimental about the whole thing. After all, he had founded the company himself. He had poured a lot of his heart and soul into it, but in the end, it was still being bought out. He gave Tong Nian and everyone some advice and gifts. After they went outside, Tong Nian saw Liao Yuncheng. Her co-workers said they would go first because Tong Nian had someone to pick her up. Tong Nian asked Liao Yuncheng when he planned to buy the company. He said he had thought about it after his business trip to England. The company didn't have enough funds to keep operating, and CEO Hu had mentioned Tong Nian before, saying that she was a sharp arrow and that he should use her effectively. While she was at the company, Tong Nian accidentally saw the production manager talking to someone else and took a picture of them. The production manager came to her and asked if she had taken a picture. Tong Nian said she had been eating breakfast. Her hands were full of food, and she couldn't have taken a picture. She said the manager must have mistaken her. Tong Nian received a message saying that Tianjun's shipment was subpar and had been canceled. Tong Nian went to find the production manager, who said he had followed the process. Tong Nian said she had worked at Tianjun and was very familiar with their product quality. There was no way there could be a canceled shipment. She even brought out the design. This shipment was different from Tianjun's blueprints, so it couldn't be theirs. The production manager said this was a matter for higher management and asked Tong Nian to not interfere in things that didn't concern her. Tong Nian went to find the department manager, who said he would help her report the issue to higher management, although it was a matter between two departments and he might not be able to control it. Tong Nian went to ask her other coworkers, but they weren't willing to help. She bumped into Liao Yuncheng and asked for his help. Liao Yuncheng knew about the Tianjun situation. He told his secretary to investigate what happened. The production manager called Tong Nian about the Tianjun matter and asked her to come discuss it. When Tong Nian went to meet the production manager, Zhang, he expressed deep concern and wanted to get her opinion on the situation. The production manager said the blueprints were in his computer, but it was broken, and he asked Tong Nian to help check it. While Tong Nian was looking at the computer, the production manager suddenly got close to her, trying to touch her inappropriately. Tong Nian told him to behave himself. Liao Yuncheng arrived just in time, punched the production manager, and took Tong Nian away. He felt that Tong Nian shouldn't have gone to meet the production manager. Tong Nian said she had sent Liao Yuncheng a message before that. Liao Yuncheng felt she didn't understand how serious this was. What would have happened to her if he hadn't arrived in time? Tong Nian said she would always listen to him from now on. After she returned, Tong Nian was still thinking about what had happened. Liao Yuncheng called her and asked if she was still scared, saying that he would talk to her. The sound of typing could help her sleep better. Tong Nian listened and went back to sleep. The manager called Tong Nian and Xin Ruyi, saying that they were in charge of replacing some wiring in the workshop. Tong Nian and Xin Ruyi worked together. Xin Ruyi asked Tong Nian to check how many were needed. Tong Nian checked and said 24. Xin Ruyi asked Tong Nian to write down the number and sign it. Tong Nian wrote it down and felt that Xin Ruyi was being very polite, making her a little confused. The delivery guy arrived and said there were 24 cubic meters of wiring and asked Tong Nian to sign for it. Tong Nian was surprised. She couldn't find it. It turned out that she had forgotten the unit. If you don't write a unit, it's automatically assumed to be cubic meters. Tong Nian felt very self-reproachful. The manager said he would handle it. While Tong Nian was there, Liao Yuncheng came looking for her and said that higher management was also discussing this matter. Liao Yuncheng felt something was strange. Usually the amount of wiring needed to be replaced was 24 pieces, but suddenly it became 24 cubic meters. The supplier should have found this strange too. How could they not check it? Tong Nian understood. Liao Yuncheng was saying someone was intentionally targeting her. Xin Ruyi was called in. Liao Yuncheng found a recording of the call. Xin Ruyi said that someone had filled out the form, so they just wrote down 24 cubic meters. If the warehouse didn't have enough, they would use something else to make up for it. Xinru Yi said that Tong Nian had framed her, but Liao Yuncheng and everyone naturally didn't believe it. Xinru Yi was also very angry. She said that Tong Nian hadn't let her into Changqian Company. When Tong Nian got there, she just fawned over the management and didn't do any work. Why did everyone always side with her? She said that if Tong Nian wanted to pursue this, she would release the pictures of Tong Nian fawning over the production manager. Tong Nian took out the photo she had taken of Xinru Yi and the production manager together, saying she didn't know who people would believe more. After they got back, everyone was talking about Tong Nian. Her co-workers told her to check her internal emails. It turned out that Xinru Yi had quit her job and sent a picture of Tong Nian and the production manager, saying that Tong Nian was fawning over management and forcing her to quit. Tong Nian didn't expect Xinru Yi to do this. She was surprised. Liao Yuncheng went to find Tong Nian and told her not to let this affect her. Tong Nian said she didn't care. Everyone would forget about it eventually. Liao Yuncheng had gathered evidence of the production manager's crimes and brought it to the board of directors, but they favored the production manager and didn't take the evidence seriously. They even advised Liao Yuncheng not to cause trouble since the subsidiary company was about to be listed. They told him to consider the bigger picture. Tong Nian heard from her coworkers about what had happened before. She had worked in production, and the production manager often used his position to make her life difficult. Tong Nian said she wanted to report the production manager under her real name. She asked her co-workers if they wanted to send her evidence, and she would encrypt their personal information. Her coworkers agreed. Jia Yiqing called Tong Nian and said that this was a crucial time as the subsidiary company was preparing to be listed. She asked if Tong Nian had any requests, and if the company could help her resolve them. Tong Nian understood that the company wanted to cover things up. She said that if they didn't handle it, she would take care of it herself. Tong Nian posted a report about the production manager on the internet under her real name. The information quickly became widespread and attracted many views. Tong Nian wanted to go out for a walk. She wasn't paying attention and almost got hit by a car. Luckily, Liao Yuncheng saved her just in time. Tong Nian took Liao Yuncheng back home and found her best friend hiding behind the sofa. He looked very surprised and asked what had happened. Her best friend said that Tong Nian was finally back. Someone had tried to break down the door and had cut the power. He was very scared. If he hadn't seen Tong Nian come back, he wouldn't have dared to go outside. Tong Nian felt it must have been because of her report under her real name. She asked her best friend what he planned to do in the next 2 days. He said he was going to go back to his parents' place for a few days. He received a call saying Bo Yang was coming to pick him up. He had to go first. Tong Nian was surprised. She asked her best friend what was going on, and he said he'd explain later. Liao Yuncheng said he was injured and asked Tong Nian to help bandage him. That's when she noticed he had a cut on his hand. She bandaged him. Liao Yuncheng asked her to stay at his place. Tong Nian didn't know if she should or not. He said he was hurt because of her, so she had to take responsibility and help him change his bandages for the next few days. Tong Nian had to agree. She asked about the production manager. Liao Yuncheng said he had collected evidence. The board of directors really favored him, but he could handle it. He still had work to do and told Tong Nian to rest first, saying that he had just changed the sheets this morning. Tong Nian was wondering where he would sleep. Liao Yuncheng said he would sleep on the sofa. Tong Nian felt a little embarrassed. He asked if she wanted to sleep with him, but she quickly went to bed. The next day, Liao Yuncheng made breakfast for Tong Nian. She watched the news on TV and saw that the production manager was being investigated for embezzlement and bribery. She was happy to see this news. Finally, the production manager was being punished. Jia Yiqing talked to Liao Yuncheng about the incident, saying that even though the board of directors had decided to fire the production manager, it had caused a lot of controversy because of Tong Nian. She said that if Tong Nian continued to be on the project team, the board of directors might use this as an excuse to make things difficult for Liao Yuncheng. It wouldn't be easy for Liao Yuncheng to continue this project. Jia Yiqing suggested he fire Tong Nian to avoid any trouble. Tong Nian was looking for Liao Yuncheng when she overheard the conversation outside. Jia Yiqing saw Tong Nian and said that since she had heard, she should just quit to avoid making things difficult for Liao Yuncheng. Liao Yuncheng told Jia Yiqing to stop interfering so much. He went to find Tong Nian and said that he had put her on the project team because he recognized her abilities. He would handle the problem and make sure it didn't affect her. Later, Tong Nian went home and told her best friend about it. She asked if she had done something wrong, if she should leave. Her best friend asked if Liao Yuncheng was angry at her for this. Tong Nian said no. He had comforted her. Her best friend thought Tong Nian should think more about Liao Yuncheng's feelings. Since he hadn't said anything, she should trust him and support him. Her best friend brought up the past and felt that Tong Nian should stop being so self-centered. He had broken up with her not because he heard that Liao Yuncheng was going abroad. She was afraid Liao Yuncheng would leave her, so she broke up with him first. Her best friend told Tong Nian to think carefully. Don't let your pride make you miss someone who truly loves you. Tong Nian felt like she should do something too. She went to find Jia Yiqing. Tong Nian told Jia Yiqing that since Liao Yuncheng trusted her, she wouldn't voluntarily leave the project team. And now, she and Liao Yuncheng were boyfriend and girlfriend. She reminded her to pay attention to his behavior at work. She shouldn't be too close to his superiors. If she heard Jia Yiqing say anything bad about her, she wouldn't let it slide. Liao Yuncheng arrived just then and supported Tong Nian. He told Jia Yiqing to call him CEO Liao from now on. Tong Nian and Liao Yuncheng went back to his place. He had already prepared all the things Tong Nian usually used at home, making her feel like she was back at her own place. Tong Nian sent a message of thanks to the top leader on the leaderboard, but Liao Yuncheng's phone suddenly vibrated. She sent another message, and his phone vibrated again. Tong Nian realized Liao Yuncheng was the top leader. She told him about this, and he said it had all started when she blocked him on WeChat. Tong Nian wouldn't listen to his explanation. She asked him to do something so she could forgive him. Liao Yuncheng had to wear cat ears and bring her some fruit. Tong Nian said she couldn't believe the most handsome guy in school was doing things like this. She was happy. The next day when Tong Nian woke up, Liao Yuncheng was already working. She took out their old school uniforms. They were a little tight, but they managed to get into them and went back to school. Tong Nian explained that the reason she had broken up with Liao Yuncheng before was because she heard the principal talking to him, saying that he was going abroad, so she had broken up with him. Liao Yuncheng understood. He realized that she was afraid he would leave her and assured her that he wouldn't do that. Just then his mother called. He talked about Tong Nian and called her his daughter-in-law. Liao Yuncheng hugged Tong Nian. They hugged each other in the place where they had so many memories. The movie ends here. Thank you everyone for watching. Please subscribe to the channel and share your feelings about this movie.